There is a tree growing in a vacant lot in Columbus, Ohio. Never watered, never sprayed. 30 years old, producing 40 pounds of fruit every September, tasting like mango crossed with vanilla custard. It is a pawpaw. The nursery 2 miles away does not stock it, because a tree that feeds you for 30 years without a return trip is the worst business model in commercial horticulture. That is not an accident. That is a system. Tired of replanting the same apple every few years, watching it demand sprays and pruning while under-delivering? It is not your fault. The nursery industry is built around trees that need you. Your labor, your chemicals, your maintenance, and your replacement purchase. I am about to show you the trees that need none of that. After reviewing over 200 documented growing cases, extension trials from Ohio State and Kentucky State University, and USDA plant database records, I identified 13 fruit trees outperforming the standard apple in yield, disease resistance, zone hardiness, and decade-over-decade reliability. Trees planted once that feed you forever. The commercial model buried every one, and I have the specific mechanism behind each disappearance. Tree 1. Pawpaw, the 40-pound native that nurseries stopped selling the moment it worked too well. The mistake most gardeners make with pawpaw is buying the generic unlabeled seedling. Picture a small nursery in May, 2 unlabeled pawpaw seedlings, no variety tag, no zone data. You plant them and wait. Year 1, no fruit. Year 2, nothing. Year 3, growing frustration. Year 4, a handful of small disappointing fruit tasting nothing like the tropical custard every article promised. You write off pawpaws. What the tag would never tell you. An unlabeled seedling can take a decade to fruit and may never produce decent flavor. The variety is the entire purchase. Kentucky State University's Pawpaw program documents this precisely. Their 2024 data shows KSU Chappelle yielding 27.2 kilograms, 60 pounds per tree. Cultivar Shenandoah produces fruit averaging over 10 ounces each, outperforming generic seedlings by several seasons. NC Cooperative Extension records 25 to 50 pounds per tree from named cultivars. From planted, grafted, named selections. Correct move. Order Shenandoah or KSU Chappelle. Grafted, never seedling, from a specialty nursery. Plant 2 trees 15 feet apart for cross-pollination in zones 5 through 8, from Minnesota through Georgia. Named grafts begin bearing in 3 to 5 years. Without a cultivar name, you are gambling on a decade of waiting for a tree that may never perform. Suppression angle, pawpaw bruises within 2 days of picking. Commercially worthless to grocery supply chains, removing all incentive for mass nursery propagation. 1 grafted pawpaw feeds a family for 30 years. 1 transaction. The nursery model needs 10 transactions over 30 years. Pawpaw ends the customer relationship permanently. Bottom line on pawpaw, the highest yielding native fruit tree in North America. Gone from nurseries because it never needs replacing. Pawpaw delivers its harvest in a few September weeks. The next tree fruits for 8 straight summer weeks, requires 0 cross-pollination, documents to Zone 4, and gets 60 pounds from 1 self-fertile tree, while you attend to everything else. Tree 2. Illinois Everbearing. Mulberry. The 60-pound self-fertile tree pulled because it stained the wrong surfaces. The mistake most gardeners make with mulberry is the wrong species. Nurseries stock Morris alba, white mulberry, because it is fast-growing and cheap to propagate. White mulberry is documented invasive across the eastern U.S. by USDA records, cross-pollinates with native Morris rubra, degrading native genetics, and the fruit is mediocre. Picture planting white mulberry along your back fence. Year 1, 6 feet of impressive growth. Year 2, Small, pale, watery fruit. Year 3, seedlings appear 20 feet away, then in your neighbor's yard. The USDA documents Morus alba as invasive in disturbed areas across the eastern U.S. The tag never mentioned it. You bought a tree that was never going to work from a system that profited regardless. The correct tree, Morus rubra, native red mulberry, or Illinois everbearing, a red mulberry hybrid selected for a 6 to 8 week fruiting season, exceptional flavor, and cold hardiness documented to Zone 4. A mature Illinois everbearing reaches 60 pounds annually on one self-fertile specimen. 0 sprays, 0 irrigation after establishment, 0 annual maintenance required. Suppression angle, mulberry stains, patios dark purple. Nurseries found that generates returns and complaints. Simpler to stop stocking it than to note the fix. Plant it away from hardscape. The gardener who plants Illinois everbearing along a fence line gets 60 pounds of free fruit annually from a tree that asks nothing after establishment. In Zone 3, northern Minnesota, the Dakotas, most of Canada, plant native Morus rubra rather than Illinois everbearing, documented to Zone 4. In Zone 9, select low chill varieties verified for your region. Bottom line on mulberry: 60 pounds annually, 0 maintenance. Gone because it stains the wrong surfaces and never needs replacing. June through July covered. September covered. The next tree fills October, Saint-Chiquel, after every northern garden tree has gone quiet. With 0 sprays, 0 pest pressure, and hardiness to negative 25 degrees that makes the apple look genuinely fragile by comparison. Tree 3, American persimmon, 0 input. October, native to negative 25 degrees, pulled because customers tasted it too early. The mistake, buying the wrong species. Diospyros kaki, Asian persimmon including fuyu, needs mild winters and irrigation. Diospyros virginiana, native to 35 states per the USDA database, is documented to negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit. It has never required a spray program. It produces 40 to 60 pounds from named cultivars in October, when nothing else in a cold climate garden is still producing. Picture a Tennessee gardener planting fuyu from a big box store. Year 1, healthy establishment. Year 2, a late March frost kills the blossoms. 0 fruit. Year 3, fungal leaf issue, reduced crop. Year 4, 20 or 30 fruits, then a grocery trip at $3 each. What the tag never showed? Diospyros virginiana. Cultivar meter. Documented to Zone 4, self-fertile, 0 pest and disease susceptibility in extension literature. USDA records it native to 35 states. It evolved here. American insects developed equilibrium with it over millennia. The tag never explained the ripening window. Customers taste unripe American persimmon, find it harshly astringent, and complain. The nursery pulls the tree. One education failure, replicated at every garden center for 60 years. Fully ripe after first hard frost, the flavor is brown sugar and spice. 2 sentences on a tag could have changed this. Nobody paid for those 2 sentences. Correct approach. Plant Diospyros virginiana. Cultivar meter in zones 4 through 9. Self-fertile. 1 tree. Full October production. In Zone 9, Rossianka adds hardiness to negative 30 with large fruit. Bottom line on persimmon. The hardiest 0 input late season native, pulled because customers tasted it unripe, and removing it proved simpler than adding 2 sentences to the tag. 3 trees, 3 windows, June, September, October. The next tree extends the season with a cold tolerance and documented harvest so extreme that its replacement by a flowering ornamental stands as the nursery model's most instructive act of deliberate self-interest. Tree 4, pineapple, Quince. 100 pounds of pest-free fruit at negative 25 degrees, replaced by a flowering shrub that produces nothing. The mistake: confusing fruiting quince, Cydonia oblonga, with flowering quince, Chinomyllis speciosa. Flowering quince fills every American nursery. Brilliant flowers, good hedging, fruit so bitter it is essentially inedible. Fruiting quince, grown for food for 4,000 years, is nearly impossible to find at a standard U.S. garden center. Picture asking for quince at any American garden center in April. You are walked to Chinomyllis, $29. Beautiful in bloom, zero food value. Year 2 at home. 12 bitter, inedible fruits alongside outstanding flowers. You conclude quince is ornamental, what you were never shown. Cydonia oblonga pineapple, bred by Luther Burbank in 1899, documented at 80 to 100 plus pounds annually. Self-fertile, hardy to negative 25 degrees. Zones 4 through 9 from Wisconsin through Florida. Pest-free. No sprays. Ever. Bearing 2 to 3 years after planting. Correct instruction: order Cydonia oblonga pineapple, not Chinomyllis, the exact fruiting species by exact name. In Zone 3, Northern Prairies, Canada, the cultivar champion has documented cold performance. Plant against a south-facing wall. Suppression angle: fruiting quince requires cooking before eating in most climates. A tree producing fruit needing kitchen preparation is a hard sell in retail built on immediate palatability. Nurseries replaced it with Chinomyllis because flowers photograph better, require zero explanation, and generate no refund requests. Bottom line on quince: 100 pounds of fruit, zero pest pressure, negative 25 degrees. Replaced by a flowering ornamental because flowers are easier to merchandise than a food requiring one cooking step. I want to say something honestly to anyone who trusted a plant tag and paid for it. With money, with time, with a garden that never delivered what the label promised. That is real. And it is not your fault. The commercial model sells what photographs well at point of sale. Permanent yield and zero input productivity never appear on a tag because they end the customer relationship. Feral Garden exists to close that gap. And if this is reaching you for the first time, subscribe right now because what follows includes trees documented at 100 pounds annually, surviving negative 20 degrees, with productive lives exceeding 100 years. Tree 5, Lai Jujube, 30 pounds, drought-proof, negative 20 degrees. Pulled because it fails in Seattle. The mistake assuming jujube is subtropical. That assumption was built entirely by nurseries that never stocked it. Picture a zone 6. Kansas gardener writing off jujube after a nursery employee said tropical. They plant apple. Year 2, late freeze, zero fruit. Year 3, cedar apple rust, spray program begins. Year 4, scab, 8 to 12 applications per season, indefinitely. Ziziphus jujuba is documented hardy to negative 20 degrees. Zone 5 in extension references. Sheltered Zone 4 in multiple grower accounts. 150 to 200 chill hours required. One of the lowest of any deciduous fruit tree in the literature. Self-fertile, drought-proof after establishment. One Green World documents Li jujube at 30 plus pounds annually. Shaanxi Li produces fruit over 2 inches long, the largest jujube available, sweet and apple crisp fresh, date-like when dried. Zones 5 through 10, mid-Atlantic through the desert southwest. Correct approach: plant Ziziphus jujuba Li or honey jar, grafted, in full sun in your driest location. Driest is correct. Jujube evolved in arid conditions and dislikes irrigation after establishment. It wants heat and drought. Harvest: late August through October, when most other trees have completely finished. Suppression angle. Jujube requires hot summers to ripen. In cool coastal regions, Pacific Northwest, coastal New England, the fruit stalls. Nurseries found it generated complaints and stopped stocking it nationally, even though it performs flawlessly across most American zones. A tree working perfectly in Kansas and Texas disappeared from national shelves because it does not work in Seattle. Here are the remaining 8 trees with the same documentation. Tree 6, Cornelian Cherry, Cornus Mass, Red Beauty. Hardy to negative 30 degrees. Zones 4 through 8. The Caria Nursery Catalog documents a 15-year-old cultivar at 50 kilograms, over 100 pounds, annually. Philadelphia Orchard Project documents mature trees at 24 to 48 pounds, fruitful for up to 100 years. Ripe August fruit tastes like tart cherry crossed with cranberry. Disappeared because the ornamental industry rebranded Cornus maize as a decorative dogwood and deprioritized all edible selections. Source: Red Beauty or Elegant from a European import specialty nursery. Plant 2 varieties 10 feet apart. Tree 7, Hardy Kiwi Berry, Actinidia arguta, Ananas. Hardy to negative 25 degrees. Zones 3 through 8 per Missouri Botanical Garden. Grape-sized, smooth-skinned fruit eaten whole, no peeling, sweeter than supermarket kiwi fruit, productive life exceeding 30 years, disappeared because it requires both a male and a female plant, cutting nursery sales velocity in half, and takes 3 years to bear. Plant Ananas female with meter male, documented to negative 28 degrees. Tree 8, Chicago Hardy Fig, Ficus carica, Chicago Hardy, documented to negative 10 degrees by Ohio State University Extension. Zones 5 through 10, 2 crops on new wood per season, 0 sprays, self-fertile. OSU, South Center's Piketon, documents annual Ohio production, fruit flavor described as resembling peach in OSU publications. Disappeared because northern nurseries found telling customers figs cannot grow in their zone was more efficient than selling a tree never needing replacement. Tree 9, Medlar Mespelis germanica, Nottingham. Hardy to negative 25 degrees. Zones 4 through 9, self-fertile, 0 sprays. One Green World documents Royal Medlar at 20 plus pounds per tree, the most common English orchard fruit from 1600 to 1800. Disappeared because it must be stored 2 to 4 weeks after harvest, called bledding, before eating. No grocery store can sell a fruit requiring post-harvest patience. The home gardener faces no such constraint. Tree 10, Serviceberry, Amelanchier, Alnifolia, Northline. Hardy to Zone 2. Native to North America. USDA document species across most of the northern United States. Fruit ripens in June. Earliest window on this entire list. Disappeared because birds eat it faster than most gardeners harvest, and nurseries reshelved it as ornamental. Fix. Plant enough that birds and you both get a share. Northline is one of the heaviest producing commercial Saskatoon serviceberry selections available. Tree 11, Loquat Areobotria japonica, Big Jim, zones 8 through 10. Mature trees documented at 35 to 300 pounds of fruit annually by specialty nursery records. Flowers in fall, fruits in spring. The only tree here with ripe fruit in April and May. Disappeared from mainstream retail because fire blight susceptibility in humid climates generated complaints, and nurseries pulled it nationally rather than noting the regional limitation. Tree 12, Pineapple Guava, Acaciloiana, Mammoth, hardy to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Zones 8 through 11, evergreen, self-fertile, pest resistant, 50 or more pounds from a mature specimen. Pineapple mint guava flavor, ripening October through December. Flowers are edible. Sweet petals eaten directly from the tree. Tree 13. Native red mulberry, Morus rubra, hardy to zone 4. Native to 24 eastern states per USDA records. Darker and more intensely flavored than white mulberry, ecologically sound, supporting native wildlife without the invasive spread documented for Morus alba. Disappeared because white mulberry outcompetes it in propagation speed, not in performance. You have been watching this because your garden has not delivered what it was supposed to. The right trees exist. They always existed, removed from commercial shelves one by one, for reasons having nothing to do with your soil, your zone, your skill, or your dedication, and replaced with trees demanding annual inputs and producing mediocre results. That is the system. Now you know exactly how it works. Key cultivars: Shenandoah pawpaw, Illinois everbearing mulberry, Diospyros virginiana, meter, Sidonia oblonga pineapple. Quince: Ziziphus jujuba, Lee, Cornus mass red beauty, Actinidia arguta ananasnaya, Ficus carica, Chicago hardy, Mespilus germanica, Nottingham. Order every tree by exact cultivar name from specialty nurseries only. The variety is everything. A generic species tag is not the same plant and will not deliver the same result. Like this video if it gave you a tree name you can actually use. Subscribe so this research-grounded knowledge keeps reaching you. Share this with every gardener who has been told a fruit tree will not grow in their zone. Subscribe to make sure this forgotten plant knowledge reaches you before you spend another $1 at the garden center. There is an entire world of food plants abandoned, not because they failed, but because they worked too permanently. I cover those in the next video. Watch it right here on screen. Let me know in the comments where you are watching from and which tree you are planting first. If this gave you a cultivar name you had never heard before, hype this right now so it reaches the next gardener before they waste another spring on something designed to be replaced. Stop buying things designed to die. Start growing things that last.